It is I, Mitch Grassi, and I am going to be talking with my good friend, Dylan Chambers, today. I am in the critically acclaimed music group Pentatonics, and I hang out with the Muppets. That is who I am, and I'm very glad to see you all, and I'm excited to get into this year with all of you. It has been quite the year for sure. And I always look forward to talking with all of you and sharing my experience. And we are all here. Look at all of you. Come. All right. Accept. Oh, wait. Am I doing this right? You think I'd know by now. I'm pressing accept. Are you seeing this, Mitch? Is it not working? What the heck? It's because of... Oh, there you are. Hi. Is it
Never done this
working? Is it
before.
working?
Hey,
Is it
guys.
working?
Can you hear me?
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
good.
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm doing
Yes.
good. How are you?
I am also doing good. I am, just had a nice morning. I feel caffeinated. I feel ready to get into all
I
things
can't wait
2022
as
with
well. I must say that the signal it's not the best. It's not incredible, but
you. Oh,
you're,
okay. Okay. We will connect
I
to
think that's a great
Wi-Fi.
idea. You're a little grainy, a little choppy, but I think
Yes.
we're gonna have to
Okay.
deal with it.
Okay. How's this? Is this any better?
Yes. You're not cutting out anymore.
Okay. Cool. This is a crappy
That's
apartment
okay.
Wi-Fi, but we're gonna
I
roll
love and
with it.
support you. What time is it for?
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock here.
I missed state.
Yeah, totally.
I said I missed my state.
You what?
Uh,
Yes, I know. We miss you here.
I'll be back
When are you
on
coming back to California?
the 27th. That's when I. So
Okay.
yeah, pretty
Great.
soon. Pretty soon. Tour's wrapping up. I'm past the point of exhaustion to where I'm just kind of like feeling great now. I'm just like kind of float on mouse. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Float on, but that's a good song. Yep. Yeah. In that song, he says he drove his car
Does
into
he really
a cop
say
car
that?
the other day. Do you remember that lyric?
I crashed my car into a bridge.
He does.
But I love it, so I
That
don't
was
care.
unfortunate. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's a good song.
It's a good song, though. So thank you again for doing this. And you are
I'm in Virginia.
Virginia right now?
In Virginia, and I just want to say thank you for doing all of the preparation for this every year. I feel like a piece
You're
of
welcome.
shit for not doing a damn thing. But
No,
it's an honor to
it's okay.
be here. What are you drinking?
You don't
Oh,
have
water.
to. Water. It's actually
Can you
straight
imagine?
vodka, but disguised as water.
I poured myself
Just
a
guzzling down.
what is it? Rum and sparkling water, just because I wanted to feel a little loose.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's good. I wanted to feel loose, so I poured myself some tap water.
Yeah, your hair looks good.
I'm really feeling it. Thank you. I just got a haircut. Your hair looks good. And your stash, look at this.
Nicely.
Growing in. Yeah.
I must say. Do you think you're ever going to grow one?
It is. I love it. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of if I think, I just don't, I can't. So I will never be able to, unfortunately. But if you could just trim a little of yours off, I'll glue it right here. I think that'd be cool. We're friends, so we can do
I
that.
like when guys have kind of like a very subtle like mustache and like a little bit here. It's like very what is it? It's kind of like, oh, I'm an artist. Like I just started renting a lot in New York and I don't have any friends, but I love to skateboard.
Yeah, that used to be me, but then I decided that skateboarding was not for me, and the little bit of stubble, I gave up on it basically. But I will try next year, and I will get a
You
loft so
should.
that
You
I
should.
can
You should become
fit
a
this ideal
painter.
image.
Um, you skated or skateboarded? What do
Yeah,
people say? Do you skated? I was a skater, right?
I
Oh,
was a yeah. I used to skate. That's what I said. I used to skate. Hmm. But I was like kind of a poser because I wasn't that good. And one time, I don't know if you remember this from our childhood, but I fell off my skateboard and I broke both of my arms and one of my legs at the same time. Like
that
it was
that
not,
actually
it was
does
not
sound really
good.
familiar.
Do you
How old
remember
were
this at
you?
all? I was like in junior high, so
Oh yeah.
probably like
What was
13
your
or 14,
dill
I
skate or
think.
something, right?
Dilbert's, a skate with an
Silver
eight, like
skater.
the number
Yeah. Holy
eight.
shit.
Yeah,
It's
that was
coming back to
my.
me. Okay, I knew it was sort of in the memory bank
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. Core memory for me at this point. And then I stopped trying
Yeah.
to skateboard after that.
Well, I've
Yeah,
never
because I
tried,
was
but
really bad.
it
But
seems fun. Uh, I don't know if I'd be good at it,
yeah,
but I am, good at?
hmm
You know what
yeah,
I
I
am
think
good
you're
at?
really good.
I'm good at
What are you good at?
recapping the year 2022.
Yes, me too. Actually, I'm better at that than skateboarding. So, getting into this, let me ask you first off, how was your year overall? Um, in general, was it a good year for you? Did you learn anything? Tell me what kind of year it was for
I
you in
feel like
general.
I barely remember it, which is so weird. Um, it
Hmm.
was good. It was, it was a very down year, and I don't mean down like sad, but like I had a lot of time. I mean, ever since pandemic
Hmm.
started, I've had a lot of time to like rest, recoup, and reflect, some would say, physical hours. Uh,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I've done a
Hmm.
lot of that. I started a new antidepressant, which has really made everything a lot better. Um,
Great.
I don't know.
Great.
It's just I feel like ever since my Saturn return, some would say every year has been really better and better. This was a year of rest, but this month I've been busier than ever, and it's been great. I feel like my attitude, my outlook on life has like totally shifted, and I don't know if it's because of the meds or therapy or a combination of both, but I just feel
Hmm.
happy to be having this human experience. Bottom line, period.
That's great. Great. I love to hear that. That's amazing,
What
man.
about
That's
you?
really great. Um, yeah, this year for me was it was action packed, for sure. I think I was probably the busiest that I've ever been in my personal life and in my musical life, which was great. But I really, it's like all you learn a lot in years when you start to get really busy. And I've been learning how to prioritize rest and balance, and therapy helps for me as well. Um,
Oh yeah,
I turned
we
30 this year. So did you. We both turned 30
some would say
this year.
that.
Yeah,
I said
crazy.
some would say we really did
What's
that. We
that?
did the damn thing.
We did the damn thing. We survived our 20s, which were all over the place,
Yeah.
as your 20s are, I would assume. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good year. I traveled a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel good about this year. Had a lot of ups and downs. It was definitely like a year. Like it was like a full, I felt
Right.
every which way you can feel throughout the year, I think for me. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was good. And then I was going to ask you what did you accomplish this year? I mean, professionally or in your personal life, both. Like, what is maybe one thing in each
These questions are
category?
hard because I feel like I forget everything that hasn't happened. Um,
Uh huh.
what
Right.
have I accomplished? I mean, We got nominated for another Grammy, which is crazy and really totally
Incredible.
unexpected.
Congrats. Yeah.
I did book my first solo show, but then I got COVID, so I had to cancel. But
Right.
but the next one
there,
is
but I will
it's
be
around
at the next
corner,
one.
as Adele would say. It's next month.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
put out some songs. I feel like I've learned how to sort of loosen the reins on my grip of the creative process and allow myself to enjoy it and make mistakes and be a beginner at things and be okay, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. And
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
also learned how to it's all about music. I feel like I've also learned how to enjoy music again, and it's been like kind of a great reinvigoration for an autonomous professor and just my like listening pleasure. Do you listen to music, by the way?
No, not really. I don't that's not my thing. I'm not really a music guy.
Well,
Yeah.
some
like
musicians literally are like, yeah,
instead.
I don't listen to music ever.
No, I do listen to music. What I have noticed is that it can be really hard for me to enjoy music in the way that I used to when I was younger, because now I dissect everything. I think if I hear one thing in a song that I like, or if I just think, I don't know, the bass isn't turned up enough, this isn't a great mix, something like that. Like, it's just hard for me to enjoy even the songs that I used to when I was younger. I think of them differently. Do you?
Oh yeah, yeah,
do
yeah. I'll
that, or
revisit some
not
of the
really?
songs that I thought were just like so beyond sublime and gorgeous, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is corny and the mix is kind of lame. But
yeah, totally. Yep.
But I would never,
I
would never call them out publicly
Yeah.
because I'm classy.
Right, you are. You are very classy. Classy and stashy, as they say.
I like I'm gonna
as no one says, but besides me. Yeah, it's good. Make t-shirts with that. I'll give you one. So a lot happened this year in the world. A lot happened in the country where we live, which is the United States of America.
I said I've heard of her, yeah.
What's that? Yeah, totally. I wanted to get your feedback on some of these things, if you paid attention to any of this, if how it felt for you, or you can just say I have no comment on these. So okay, let's start with global headlines. The big stuff. Inflation surged around the world, and it was crazy for everyone. Gas prices went up. The cost of living went up. What are your feelings about?
I think inflation is good for balloons, but I think it's absolutely crazy. I don't know how anyone is even expected, young people especially, are even expected to live in this country anymore. I feel like everybody I talk to is like, yeah, I would love to start working on my future, but I just can't afford to. And it's heartbreaking. I have an electric vehicle, so I don't pay attention to the gas so much, but I pay enough attention that they're exorbitant and it's robbery.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely been crazy. I mean, where we live in Los Angeles, prices are crazy already, and then they just got crazier. So I agree. It is. It's definitely. I feel for a lot of people out there that are having trouble supporting themselves and are having to make a lot of decisions, and especially around this time, this year, it is. It's been really.
I don't understand
insane.
the motive. I guess. I think it's like the rich protecting the rich, and I think that's lame as fuck. And I think there are a lot of that have a lot better things to say that aren't opportunities simply because they can't afford to, and that's lame.
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree. Well said. Um, Another thing that was quite big this year. Um, Ooh, this was crazy. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned abortion rights earlier this year, and that was, I felt that pretty hard. What were your feelings? Yeah, that was really insane. What
That's
went through your head?
just like one of many things that happened this year in terms of
Mm-hmm.
lawmaking and governing rule that I'm just like, what's happening? Do people care about each other anymore? Is there any humanity in the world? Because that's just like the most insane thing.
Yeah.
It's true. I feel like I'm in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
imagine like
I know,
being
especially
a woman
lately.
and feel and like
Yeah.
hearing that. I can't put myself in that place because I'm not a woman, but it's just it's monstrous. It really is. It's inhumane.
Yeah, absolutely. I live with a woman, obviously, you know, Patty, and we're getting married next year. And living with her has really been eye-opening, especially when that news broke and watching how she was affected by it and having so many close friends who are women. My heart really went out to all of them. And yeah, that was a horrifying time. I mean, I'm sure I can't imagine what that would feel like. You're right. I mean, to be a woman and to be told no, um, you know, we basically have control over you, and that's the whole point of getting away from this. Is there needs to be more control, you know, back to women, and I think a lot of it was taken away, and in some ways
That's
we went
saying
backwards. I
like
mean, in a lot of ways with
your
that.
feelings,
So
your body autonomy is not important enough to us to protect it. So
yeah,
it's horror movie.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to believe. It is a horror movie. Absolutely. Let's see. Another thing. These are all not great things, but these were big things that I think need to be talked about. And I have happy things too, but they're important. So Russia invaded Ukraine this year. This has been a big, crazy year. And I remember watching a lot of that go down. Even on social media, it was like a big thing on social media, seeing videos now of what's going on over there, all those kinds of things. Thoughts, feelings around that?
I've been keeping up too. And it's just sort of unthinkable to me. I feel like now that, I mean, there's so much I could say, but I feel like now from my perspective, it's crazy because you grow up reading these insane headlines and you almost accustomed to them while you're a kid and like a teenager. But now that I'm 30 and I'm reading these things, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, these things are actually happening. People are being hurt. Their water and electricity is being turned off because press them. It's like so crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what else. It just breaks my heart so much.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I had some friends that are from over there in the Ukraine, and they went over to try to help and do as much as they could. They live here, and I was watching them discuss it on social media, and they would share videos back and forth, and it was just horrifying. So obviously, you know, my heart goes out to all that. I don't know. The whole concept of war as I get older is really scary. You know, it's just, there's a lot of ego involved and things about being right. And, you know, just, I don't know, that's not, that's great. And I have my own opinions about that, but, another big thing that happened this year, and this tour, a lot of people leaned on both sides, of this, like just their feelings coming up, is that Queen Elizabeth died this year. And obviously, you know, with stuff like Meghan and Harry living here and kind of getting out of the monarchy and all that kind of stuff, there's just been a lot of like, when someone like that passes away, I think it brings up a lot of mixed feelings. Did you pay attention to that at all? I know we talked about it a little bit last year with the monarchy because her husband died.
I don't know enough about it, to be very honest. Uh, I but
Mhm.
I was reading the reactions
Mhm.
online, and it seemed very divided. I don't know of her
Yeah.
ruling history. I don't
Mhm.
know all of what she's done, good
Mhm.
or bad. Um,
Yeah, right.
so all I'm gonna say is Spencer is a really good movie. Kristen Stewart is
It
Diana.
was. It was really
Rest in
good.
peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Um, okay, so now moving on to some more pop culture
Okay.
topics that happened in America that a lot of people were paying attention to. Um, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got married, and that's been a really long, crazy relationship. I just more than anything for me, I just think it's interesting that like I don't know, a relationship can go like this for so many years and then still
Yeah.
wind up like that's your person. Does did that affect you at
Um,
all? Like, did you have any thoughts
it
around
didn't
that, or just
affect
I
me
don't know, any
personally.
comments?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be mean, but sometimes I
Okay.
wonder with people at that level of celebrity, um,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
did they do it for publicity, or do you think they're really? Because we know, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not stupid, you and I. We know
Yeah.
how the industry works. Um, Sometimes you do things so
Mm-hmm.
people will talk about
Absolutely.
you again, but I'm wishing them well. Hopefully, they're happy and thriving and having amazing sex.
Totally. That's the
Me too.
most
That's what I hope
important, really.
for
That's what I hope
everyone,
for
honestly.
sure. Mm-hmm.
Myself included.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that so that happened this year. Another thing, uh the Wordle craze. Did you play Wordle? Do you know what it is? Do you remember
Oh
this
yeah, I
happening
like
where
played
everyone
it
was obsessed
once,
with
and then I was
this
like, I
app?
can't commit to this full time.
Yeah. 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 I was the same. I tried for a bit and it was cool, but then I just I have other things that take up a higher importance in my life.
Yeah, so
And I
so
said,
do
be
I. It
gone with your
seemed fun
Wordle,
though,
you
like a
know?
good challenge, like a brain tickler.
Yeah. Everyone
Oh,
needs to get their
totally.
brains tickled sometimes, amongst other things. So totally. Um, um, okay, this was talked about a lot, and I get it. And when, like, after a few weeks, everyone was like, "All right, enough talking about this," but I still think it was a crazy, iconic moment in not only in America but the world. But the Oscars when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. I mean, that was absolutely insane. Did you have any thoughts about it? Are you what are you thinking now? Does how much mental space did that
I
take
thought
up for
about that
you
a good
in your
amount,
brain?
actually. It was shocking.
Me too. Mm-hmm.
I hated it. I was like, it's so corny, first of all. I think like resorting to violence at all is whack as hell, but to do it publicly is crazy. I think they
Mm-hmm.
should have had a conversation. That's my opinion. Uh, Somebody said the slap was this year.
Yeah.
I know, it feels like
Mm-hmm. It,
uh,
I know a lot happened this year. That did
I
happen this year, though.
I'm done. What did you think about it?
Okay, great, great, cool. Uh, I think it's complicated. I think
Definitely.
I think it's complicated on a lot of levels. And do I think it was
Mhm.
inappropriate? Yeah, I do think it was inappropriate. I also, again, I think it's complicated, and I think there's a lot around it. The thing to me that's a shame, there's a lot that's a shame around it and about it, but that's kind of marked on them and the situation forever. They will, that, like, their names will always be associated with that. And some would say that's a good thing. Some would say that's a bad thing. It's just, I think when you are a person of importance in the world, like that, I think you do have a responsibility to be an example. And so you can take that however way you want to and pin that on either of them. But I do think,
Yeah.
I think that was a crazy moment. It
I
was
think
more
at
than a slap, for
at
sure. It
base
was
level,
deep.
striking someone in or just in general is a no-no.
Yeah.
And it's not my story to tell. And it's not
Yeah.
my business.
I know.
That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, that did happen this year. That was crazy. Harry Styles being everywhere. It's, yeah, like everywhere in movies, you know, his music really popping off now with his solo career. Like, I want to know, do you listen to his music? Have you paid attention at all? Is he just like a person in the ether to you? Like, where are your thoughts around Harry Styles this
has
year?
4 nipples. Yeah,
What?
I think so.
Is that real?
So he has 2
like next to each
regulars,
other? Or
2 more down lower.
right? Like
no, they're
like
sort
a
of
cow or a cat?
placement, and they're smaller. You know when people have like 3rd nipples and they're like small and kind of faded. You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
No.
Well, he
But
has
I'll
those,
go with
and
that, sure.
I'm not shaming him. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit of trivia that I actually just learned today. I think that he is talented. I like music. I haven't listened to a lot of it, I will admit. I do think that he's a great businessman, and I think he's got a lot of charisma, and I think he's cute.
Totally.
What about you?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I didn't like delve in super hard, but there's a couple songs that I do like. I'll be honest and say that when people compare him to David Bowie, I just do not see it at all. But also I'm a person that, like, I mean, I've always been like this, like, you know, that from my music taste when I was a teenager. Like, I really delve into the older music, and like I've been a fan of like artists that were way before my time from like a young age, and I just don't see the similarity in David Bowie and Harry Styles. Like, I can see the maybe partial influence with like being a little I don't know, just
like glam
almost
rock,
kind of flamboyant.
He is a little at times,
right?
So I totally see the comparison.
Right.
I don't really think their music is very similar, personally.
No, and I personally think that he's too young to even be compared to an icon like David Bowie. Like, we'll see what he does with the rest of his career, but like that, just, I don't know. A lot of people that don't even really know David Bowie's music or what he stood for or anything culturally would say like, hey, he's very much like David Bowie. And I'm like, but you don't really know who you're talking about. You know what I'm like?
Definitely,
but that's just,
and you're a big fan.
I go deep
and
in all that
he
stuff,
also, oh my God, it's so tough to even get a grasp on like David Bowie. I still feel like I barely know who that is. Do you know what I mean? Elton John, Jones. I'm just like, he's kind of like, there's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack. Yeah. I mean, those people, it's like a lot of people only see the tip of the iceberg with artists like that. And underneath the surface, there's so much that they really had like long careers and changed and so much. I just like, we'll see in time, but like, I don't know, that was honestly one thing that like kind of annoys me. I'm like, I don't see that, but
You're entitled.
whatever. I think very deep on that stuff. Anyway, thank you. Yes. Did you watch Stranger Things? Their season 4 came out this year. Are you into it? Not really.
Back in the day,
Are you
and I did it, but I'm really bad at keeping up with shows. But I do love the 80s. And how did you watch it? Did you love it?
Me too. I did. I watched it, and I was really into it. The thing that I think is really cool about shows like that, that kind of bring back art that maybe people have forgotten about or aren't familiar with, like the music choices in that show, like how it ignited Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill Again and made it a smash hit again. And I think that's cool. I think when shows can do that for music, I mean, being a musician myself, I think that's what's really cool about shows like that. But I was really, I mean, I'm a fan. I've watched every season, and I think it's a well done show. And I like to feel nostalgic for a time that I was not there for. Helps me pretend I
seems to be
understand
the name of the
it,
game,
you know,
in our year of 2022, but also just in our present time. People love to be nostalgic. The 80s are back in a big way. The early 2000s are back in a big way, which it was like I understand like the attraction to like bad taste and like white trash and Paris Hilton. Is it for me? I can't say that it is. But
gotcha.
That's
totally
your shit.
It. Totally.
Fucking rock out, dude. Rock out.
Rock out with it, you know? Yeah, I do like it. I like the music. Oh, okay. 2 things here. Which do I even start with? They were both real big this year and sort of ongoing. I guess I'll start with this one. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. That was a big one. Did you follow it at all? Did you just kind of watch the highlights like so many of us did? Which I did.
I did. I saw a couple of the viral moments about keeping up with the court case because it felt so personal, and I knew there was no way I could ever form a true opinion about it because I'm not in the mix of the circumstance. And bullshit is so just like
right.
formal. So it's, I don't know, I felt gross about like partaking, but I mean, there were some interesting moments. Amber first, she definitely is.
Number 1. Yeah. I want to know your opinion about her like taking a shit in the bed. That happened, right?
I don't
remember
if it was true.
Do you know?
If she really did do that, I think that's absolutely insane. That's insane. And I don't really know what else I can add to that. That's just like vile and disgusting, and it's cruel and weird. But if great.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. It had a lot of shock value. I read something, and again, not claiming to know everything, but I did read later that she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And I have someone in my family who has that. And again, I don't know Amber. I only watched a bit of the trial, but I was like, oh, okay, maybe so. And here's the thing, when you hear about someone like that who has a mental disorder, much like someone else that I'm going to bring up in a second, a lot of people that haven't lived with someone like that or know what it's really like can perceive someone like that with a mental disorder to be horrible. And sometimes they really are, and sometimes it's just who they are because of
Yeah.
the disorder. Doesn't make it great, and you can work on yourself, right? But like, I think a lot of, I don't know, she got a lot of heat, he got a lot of heat. Just in general, the whole thing was absolutely crazy that we're glued to our TVs watching this, caring about this, picking sides. It's just, the media is so crazy. And it was just another thing for us to distract us from other
Well,
things, I think,
complex.
personally. But
I don't think I can
that's just
comment
me.
on that, to be honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yes. Okay. Moving on. Last one in the kind of pop culture zeitgeist. There's a lot to unpack. You can say as much as you want about this, or we can move on. But just in general, this umbrella of
And I
Kanye
knew
West.
it was going here.
Yeah, I mean, how can it not?
Dangerous, disgusting words, hate speech. It's not okay, and I want him to stop really bad because it's a lot of.
Yeah, I think, yeah, one thing that I've learned this year in my journey with therapy and just, thinking about people that struggle with mental disorders, things like that. I still think you have to be held accountable. I do. I don't think that those are excuses to get away with things. I really don't. I do think that sometimes, I mean, it's clear, it's been proven over and over again, whether you struggle with a mental illness or not, that if you have power over people, it can get real ugly real fast. If you don't keep that under control or know where you stand with that, or it's a complicated issue, obviously, having a mental illness. But I also don't think that it makes you racist. I don't. I just think when you speak negatively about things like that, and you have that influence, I don't know, it can just really take a crazy effect on things, and like it did. We saw more hate come up from that, and that's just sad. There's been a lot of hate this year, and that's hard to watch and absorb all the time.
That's what I've noticed.
You know what I'm saying
about the world is that there has been sort of a resurgence of hate and negative feelings. And we'll heal. I think the world will heal.
Absolutely. We wax and we wane with things, and yeah, but just in saying that, like, my heart definitely goes out to anyone that is suffering with a mental illness or knows people. It's very common. It's more common, I think, than we even really understood. And I think that it's a good thing that that's coming to light and it's kind of being more normalized. Like, a lot of people that I know from back in the day are just like, oh yeah, I now know that I'm bipolar. I now know that I have BPD, or I now know that I went through a lot of traumatic events, like things like that. I think that's good. I think that if we can name things, I think that's one step closer to healing or getting certain things under control, if you hold yourself accountable.
What you're saying. Yeah. Accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Okay. So, moving on. Thank you for giving your tidbits on those things. Some were heavy, and I appreciate it. Did you have a favorite movie of the year? Did you watch anything that really blew you away?
I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was such an incredible film.
Incredible.
And I loved it. I loved every second.
I mean,
no, and I'm very.
Did you see it in theaters?
I streamed, like every good American boy.
Okay. Yeah. Totally. I saw it in theaters, and when it was done, I just thought, how do you even come up with this? How do you make a movie like this? How do you how? I mean, it's beyond my comprehension, and I'm so glad someone made a
It
movie
is
like that.
crazy.
You
Yeah,
know?
I was researching the creative team that created the movie. I was like, damn, what else have they? Like, I need to see the rest of them. They did that crazy where Daniel Radcliffe was a corpse. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Swiss Army
yeah.
Man or something. Yeah,
Crazy
I watched
film.
that. That
Yeah,
was crazy. Yeah.
Everything Everywhere was just so beautiful, so poignant. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
probably the only
I
time
loved
I
it.
cried this year. Sometimes
Good. Don't
I
cry. Crying
like
is
it.
not good. Keep all of it inside. Yeah. No, it was really great. Do you read?
Hmm.
Do you
I
listen to
do read.
audiobooks?
Um, I read a
Mhm.
fucking crazy book recently. That I picked up in New Orleans
Yeah.
because there was a whole section about stories that are based in New Orleans, and it's called Corpse.
Oh, cool.
Um, it's just
Mhm.
like the most violent, gratuitous, disgusting book I've ever read, and I don't, I don't recommend it, but I'm glad I lived through it to tell the tale.
Okay.
It was like I
Okay.
feel
So
like
it's one of
people that
those.
loved
Yeah,
the
sure.
Dahmer series will love reading this. Did you?
That was me.
I didn't see
I,
it.
yeah. Did you watch it? Yeah. Yeah. I will be honest and say as I get older, I do have a sort of fascination with true crime, mostly because I just can't believe some of those things happened. Like I am so fascinated with someone's mind that is able to do that because it's just so not the mind that I have, thank God. And I was, I don't know, I was curious, and it was kind of around Halloween time, and I do like to fall into that like spooky feeling, holiday sort of feeling, much like I do with Christmas, and like feeling joyful and all that stuff, and merry. So yeah, that was really really crazy. But I'm sure it was very triggering to a lot of people that lived through it
I think
and were
I think
a part of
psychologically
that.
it is very
So
interesting. It's interesting because it's like things you could obviously never fathom doing. And I don't
mhm.
know. I think I don't know if I want to speak on it anymore. But I think we like
Okay,
it speaks
yeah,
to the capabilities of humanity, perhaps. Freaking and also crying.
totally, totally, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I totally get that. Uh, one interesting quote that I read this year, that I wanted to get your opinion on was from our president, Joe Biden, and he said, "The best way to get something done, if you hold it near and dear to you, that uh, anyway,
Mm-hmm.
we're ready to get a lot done." And I want to know
I think he's
how that
totally
resonates
right.
with
I
you.
would say if you really want to work on something, you kind of have to hold it near and dear, especially if you want to get things done. So I hear him, and I'm ready.
Totally. I'm gonna get you a pillow embroidered with
Oh,
that
Joe.
quote on it. Um, I just think, like when you have so much pressure on you, obviously that was a joke. Like he just fumbled with his words at that, but I was looking up like quotes from this year, and I found that one, and I was like, it's got to
You
be so
imagine?
hard to be the president. Like just it's the president. Can you imagine mentally putting yourself there and having to deal with so much all the time, and then you get up and sometimes you're not going to say the right thing, and then to be railed because you mumbled word. It's just like it's hard. It's the hardest job, I would assume, if not at least one of the
You
hardest
couldn't
jobs
pay
on
me
the
enough
planet.
money to lead a country.
No, totally. Have you have you ever fumbled with words on like at a big thing? Have you ever, or like in an interview, have you ever
Yeah,
accidentally said
what
something and you're
happens to
like,
me
I
a
don't know what I
lot
was
is that
saying?
I feel like I
Just
need
that.
to talk a lot, like I need to say as many words as I can. Uh, and, and for some reason, my
Mm-hmm.
brain thinks
Mm-hmm.
that's like the solve, and that will help me to get to the end of my sentence, but it very rarely does. So what I've been working on is just forming
Mm-hmm.
concise thoughts in my head and just saying that out
Mm-hmm.
loud. And if it's really short, that doesn't mean I'm stupid. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I who's really good at that are like spiritual thought leaders, like monks and stuff. I watch a lot of videos of them talking and try to start my day just with kind of absorbing that rather than just going straight to Instagram or social media, or, things like that. And uh, there are a couple that
Yeah.
it's kind of awkward because they pause for a really long time when asked a question, and they're just thinking, and it's silent for like 25 seconds, and people are just sitting there,
Yeah.
and then they answer, and then it's done. And I'm like, that's
I
beautiful.
know. I
We
think we're
don't really do
scared.
that
I'm not sure
ever.
why. We're scared to find out
Yeah,
a lot about
maybe.
people.
People want totally. I think people want to take up space too. So the more things, the more words, the more, I just think it's about
Definitely.
taking up space. And I think it's anxiety. I
I
mean,
don't know much
I
about
don't know.
anxiety, but
Yeah.
it could be.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. I've never really heard of that term. What is that? I've heard people suffer with that. Not me. Not me at all. Yeah. Um, but kind of in that vein, I found this interesting. Do you know what the Merriam-Webster word of the year is? Did we talk about this at dinner
I
when we
don't
went a
remember.
few months ago?
I
I don't
don't know it.
remember. Uh, okay. I think it's really, really interesting for our time that we're living in. The 2022 Merriam-Webster word of the year is
That sounds
gaslighting.
about right. Yeah.
Doesn't it? It's pretty crazy. So I was reading a little bit about this because I was just really, that was kind of mind blowing to me because I know a lot of people are using that term a lot now. And basically, the the overall meaning of the word that, according to Merriam-Webster, is the psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability,
Mhm.
and a dependency on the perpetrator. And that's so crazy. And I was curious to know where that word came from. Like, why is it called
I think
gaslighting? Do
it
you know about
derives
this?
from a stage play, actually. I don't remember the story though.
That's right. Yeah, I wrote this down. I thought this was so crazy. So the verb gaslight comes from the 1938 play Gaslight by Patrick Hamilton, which also had two 1940s movie adaptations. This is crazy. In the story, a husband attempts to drive his wife insane by, among other things, dimming the
Oh,
gas lights in their
oh
house and
shit.
claiming she is imagining it.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I didn't really know much about it, but I was like, oh, that's because that is technically what gaslighting is, to distort the other person's
Absolutely.
perception and make them feel crazy based off of their experience. And I was like,
Yeah,
what a weird way to
it is.
show that by
I
dimming
know that
gas
word has
lights
become very
and they're
popular.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
it's so strange. It's so interesting. I wonder why that is. I guess because people are becoming more self-aware. I think the
Mm-hmm.
theme of
Mm-hmm.
society and the world in the past couple of years is just like recognizing, understanding your trauma. I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of gaslighting has
Mm-hmm.
happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, there just wasn't a name for it, but like that feeling of being manipulated into believing that you're crazy based off of a
Yeah.
perception or a stranglehold that someone else has on you. I feel like that's a form of power, and that's how people gain power, by trying to distort your perception of whatever it
Most
is
def-
that you went through, your experience with anything.
I think it's
And
hard
we've all
to
been there. We've all had
decipher
that happen to us.
gaslighting over text and online. I think the manipulation that happens online in the comment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's God, I don't know. It's just scary what people are capable of saying over the internet, and how that can affect other people, and how they'll never know how much they've affected other people. Yeah.
Can I ask how that's affected you in your personal life?
It's challenge. It's tough. It's tough because, even though
Sure.
people can say some mean things to you or about you, they don't really know you, so you know in your heart that it's not valid because how you. But
Right.
it's still hurtful.
Yeah.
If he's directing hurtful words at you, it's not
Sure.
going to feel very good. But I recognize that's the position that I'm in, that we're in, and most people nowadays are in that position too, because everyone's online. Most everyone has a social media presence, free for all, except which now is being censored left and right.
It's true. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of stuff is crazy, and I do think that it's important to state again that, like, when you are a person that has some sort of following based off of what you do, whether that's music or not, and you are a real person, you have emotions just like other people. You're really not different. Maybe you have different experiences, but if you think about it, we all have different experiences. We all share different sort of lives, whether you are, a person that has written a great book or performs for the world, like whatever, you still are a person. You still feel those core things. So when words are being thrown out there that are negative, especially at you when someone doesn't really know you, I just feel like it's really low. And I think before you do things like that, even if you're hurting, and that's why you do that, you really got to check in with yourself, because there are other ways to handle that rather than, bashing someone that you don't know. And I've gotten that myself, and it doesn't feel good. But you kind of can maybe grow immune to it, or sometimes you can't, and creates problems for people.
Just be kind to each other. It's so short. It really is.
Just be kind. Yes, it really is. And speaking of that, I wanted to highlight and kind of wrap up with a couple people that we have lost this year, and just get any of your comments. I know we did this last year, but unfortunately it happens every year. We lose people, but then we also gain people. It's the cyclical part of life. So we lost, I'll kind of just run through these. We lost Bob Saget this year. That was kind of, that was this year.
That feels like it was years ago.
Beginning of the year.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like really unexpected. Did that affect you at all?
Because he was young.
Or was it just like, oh, that's sad? Yeah.
I didn't have a personal connection with him, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was sad. I was at Disneyland when that news broke, and I just remember standing in line for a ride, and everyone was like, Bob Saget died. Yeah, it's weird to be in a public place when someone, who was well known like that and well respected, passes. That was pretty crazy. Christine McVie.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Are you a Fleetwood Mac fan?
Sad.
To an extent? Yeah, that was sad. She was one of the main songwriters in that group, and was pretty young. That was sad. I like their music and a lot of the songs that she contributed to that band, so that was sad. Yeah. I don't mean to laugh. This causes a lot of controversy, but Jerry Lee Lewis died. Do you know about Jerry Lee Lewis?
Where have they been?
Jerry Lee Lewis died recently.
I feel like they happened years
We've been
and
busy.
years ago.
We've been doing things.
I don't. There must have just been long.
No,
Yeah. Yeah, he lived a long,
Yeah,
long
that's a
life for
controversial
sure.
character right there.
Yeah, yes, yes. That is a controversial character. I will say, from a musical perspective, um, he was an originator of rock and roll, and I think the weird part about losing people like that for me is like, oh, they're really all gone now. Like that time is
Yeah.
like really just kind of cemented now. It's you can't mold it anymore. It's like Elvis is gone. People like that, they're just it's a time now. It's a time to look back on, and it has a
Totally.
beginning and end. It's not ongoing, you know. Um, um, yeah. Robbie Coltrane, who played
Oh,
Hagrid
sad.
in Harry Potter, died this year.
I love
That was
Hagrid.
sad. That was very sad. Me too. He was like everybody's like everyone loved Hagrid. Even in the books, like before the movie came out, it was just you felt a connection to him. And that's like our time of growing up, having those books and seeing those movies. We were like their age, basically,
Oh, and
Harry's age and all
I
that.
loved the first
So
movie. That was my favorite one.
yeah. Oh yeah, big time. That was so good. I saw that in theaters. That's a big memory for me for sure. Um, let's see. I guess I'll end on this one just because it was recent, and I'm like going through the motions on this one. Just being completely honest. Stephen Twitch Boss recently died of suicide like last week. Do you know who this is?
I'm
Have you seen
familiar
any
with the name
stories?
but I'm not familiar with. I think I need to research, but I know it was impactful to a lot
Yeah,
of people.
he so yeah, I haven't seen him in years, but back when I was doing music and kind of working in the circle of Dancing with the Stars out here, he was at a lot of events that I was at and went to some parties with him and stuff, and he was always just like a really awesome, fun, loving guy. And this was even before he was on Ellen. This was just like when he was mostly known as from So You Think You Can Dance and all that. But that was really sad. And I think just again about mental health, like I know everyone's been saying it since this, saying like you really don't know what people are going through. You don't. So again, to your point, like just try to be kind. Like it's a crazy world, especially right now, and what we've all kind of experienced and gone through over the last few years, like it changed our reality. Like our complete existence and reality is different, and there was no warning. We were just kind of thrown into like a black hole and came out on the other side, and
Yeah.
it definitely took everyone for a loop. And I don't know what was going on there with him, but like yeah, you really, just try to be kind and realize that even if you look like you're the happiest person in the world, you're probably going through something internally. I just think
I
it's important to
definitely
always
think
kind of
so too.
remember
And
that.
that's something I've been applying very recently, this year especially, because I guess from what we've talked about, it's been a tough year for the world.
I know. I didn't mean to make this so like dark, and I didn't like. It's just a lot of this stuff. Like it kind of realizing talking with you, like it's been kind of a really crazy year. Like it really
But
for the
think
world,
it's
and I
it's important to
yeah.
face these things, and it's important to talk about them like we're doing now, because we
Yeah.
don't want history to repeat itself. We think and realistic.
No.
But more importantly, and what I was going to say earlier, I think what's most important is just doing things out of love and compassion. And that might be right, but
Yeah.
I believe that is the cure. I do.
I agree. I do. In wrapping up, I'm curious to know, just kind of on that topic, like, how do I even ask this? Because I ask myself this. Do you feel a responsibility to hold people's happiness? Like when you go out on stage and you sing for these people, obviously you don't know a lot of them, you know, personally, but like, do you know that you offer a gift of joy? Like, do you know that you have that power to kind of change people's moods or give them one good
I
night
do.
or
I
something? Do you
do
think
think
about
about
that
that. I
ever?
think about
Or
it because
I'm curious.
I
Yeah.
know that bringing people joy through what I do through music and art is why I'm here. And I'm, you know, I'm humbled and this sounds like I'm like a very formal, like I'm humbled, but it really is true. It's a very humbling
No.
experience to be able to provide people with overwhelming joy and euphoria. And I, it's the biggest reason why I continue to do it, other than, you know, the fact that it's fun and it's an adventure to create. But yeah, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, as I get older, I do. Music has become sort of less about me in my mind. I think in my early years of like picking up a guitar and writing songs, it felt very me centered, and it was like that's kind of how it is. It starts off like it's very personal to you, but then I think when you start putting out music, um, and you start seeing people's reactions to it, and people will tell you, and I'm sure they have with you as well, like this one song or this one performance really helped me through a hard time. And then you realize in those moments when people are being real with you that what you're really doing is being real with other people. And it hits kind of in a moment where you're like, oh, this is a give and take sort of thing. And when you make art, it and release it out into the world, it's theirs kind of. It's birthed from you, but it's theirs now, and they can have it on a for a rainy day or, you know, a bad time, whatever that is. And I just think that's so powerful and so important that we get to that we've kind of been we're able to do that, you know, like it just it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad
It
to be
is
in that
beautiful.
position, and I'm sure
It's a blessing,
you are as well.
and no matter what,
Yeah.
I'm happy that you and I can do that for
Mm-hmm.
people. That's kind of all that matters, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will end this by saying, on the subject of joy, you have always provided joy. I distinctly remember that growing up with you. You were always people really always like to be around you. You did emit a light, and you still do. And I can speak from that honestly, and say that watching you grow into a position where you are able to amplify that joy out to others is a beautiful thing, and is no surprise to me that you are where you are.
Thank
And
you.
are so loved.
I love you too.
And I love you. Uh, and I'm glad that we could connect. Obviously, this year has been a little darker, but as it goes,
But we're
that's
still,
just kind of how it is. But
we're still.
I love you. Yeah, totally. Yes, absolutely. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your tour, and I will see you. If I don't see you by the end of the year in
Yeah,
person, we'll
we
hang
gotta.
early
I'll be
next
home.
year for sure. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Love you. Thank you, Mitch.